Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and the other day when I was discussing high bar versus low bar squat a little bit in a video, I forget which one it is, it sparked some conversation and people wanted to know what I meant by that high bar squat is better for athletes in general. And I don't mean dramatically better. Any squat is better than no squat for an athlete. I don't care whether it's a high bar squat, low bar squat, front squat. Squatting is essential to making good field athletes and combat sport athletes. And someone raised the point of, doesn't the low bar squat bring more hamstring in, and hamstring is really important on the playing field? Let's stop and assess that for a minute. First of all, hamstrings are not massively stimulated on the squat. The squats do stimulate some hamstring development, but if you're a field athlete and you're using the squat as your primary method of strengthening your hamstrings, you're going to have a problem, because squats will always be more anterior chain dominant than posterior chain dominant, particularly the hamstrings. Yeah, they work the glutes very effectively, but not necessarily the hamstrings. They do recruit them, but not tremendously. Things like deadlifts or even direct hamstring work are going to be a much better choice. Glute ham raises, Romanian deadlifts, things like that. Going to be far better choices for developing your hamstrings. You shouldn't even be considering that. Number two, the low bar squat doesn't recruit the hamstrings anymore. The thing that you have to remember with the low bar squat is that it shifts some of the anterior focus, the anterior chain, the quadriceps. There's a small shift, and your hips can be slightly stronger than your quads in terms of their ability to move weight. So by shifting a little bit of the focus from the quads to the hips, it can allow you to sometimes move just a little more weight. The other thing to consider is that it takes a little bit out of the range of motion. So if you're going to do low bar squats, you're cutting sometimes a couple inches out of the range of motion on the lift. And that's another reason people can lift a little more weight oftentimes. But that's not necessarily good for athletic performance. That's one of the reasons that the conventional deadlift is superior to the sumo deadlift for most field athletes, because you're training the body to pull it through a longer range of motion. You're getting more overall strength and development, because you are doing a longer range of motion with a heavy weight. And that's really what you should be looking for in an exercise for a field athlete. It's, the closed grip bench press is generally going to give you more performance in a field sport than the wide grip bench press. The conventional deadlift is going to give you a little better than the sumo deadlift. The high bar squat is going to give you a little better than the low bar squat, because you're taking a big heavy compound and you are moving it further. Partials are not the way to go for functional strength on an athletic playing field. And just remember, the main thing with a low bar squat, it changes a lot of torque angles and things in the body, but it doesn't put more development on the hamstrings. It puts a little more on the hips and a little less on the quads. And a lot of field athletes are doing the squat as their primary quad builder, and they're getting a lot of other hip work in there. And it is a longer range of motion, potentially just a little more, which again is going to give you better overall development and strength out on a playing field when you're put into different positions to where you're going to need strength through different joint angles. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.